live, I believe. Okay, here we go. Welcome everybody to the very first live broadcast from my studio. A quick little bit of housekeeping. Again, bit of a learning curve, all of this. This is very new to me. I've had some problems figuring stuff out and getting it going. But let's see how we get on. First order of the day is an audio check if I can. Let me know in the chat, in the comments or what have you, if you can hear me okay. The microphone's picking up all right in OBS, but I don't know what it sounds like for you guys. So let me know in the comments. I'm going to give the comments time to catch up because there is a little bit of a stream delay as it goes on. So welcome. I'm going to let viewing numbers build just a little bit. Like I say, just got started. I know a few people have been waiting. We have 5 people, I think, that are viewing at the moment. Yep, 5 people watching, including me. I'm one of them because I'm monitoring it on a tablet. And we'll see how we go. So do let me know if you can hear me okay. Right, in fact, if I listen to myself, sounds good. Thank you, Mike. It's hard to know, and when you're monitoring it on another device, usually the speakers are a bit naff, and then there's a whole wires and headphones. Great to know, thank you. Right, so the idea for these live streams is, one, to help promote the business in the studio, to provide content. These will be tutorials, these will be news, Q&As, image critiques. There's a few things to figure out before I get into those, but that's the plan down the line. I'm doing some live shows as well with my studio neighbour Ian, my good friend, who has very, very thankfully, shout out to Ian, lent me his camcorder, because otherwise this wouldn't be happening. A whole nightmare with the 5D Mark IV and the HDMI cable thing and the thing and the didn't work. So thank you very much, Ian, for loaning me this. Now, the live shows that I'll be doing with Ian, next one is on Tuesday evening at 7:30. So do head over to his channel, Ian Studio or Ian M. Butterfield on YouTube for that live stream, and we'll both be there. I'm not 100% sure what he's got planned on the show. He usually gives me some show notes at the beginning and says, here we go, that's what we're doing. So there we go. So we'll be doing some from his, some from mine, and we just need to get this figured out. So this is a bit of a learning curve and a trial. So getting into this one, last little bit of housekeeping actually before I forget. Currently the Martial Arts Centre upstairs are doing classes and some training. So you may hear a little bit of banging possibly, you may hear people coming and going through the main entrance to the building. Not really too much I can do about that because there's no real set schedule for the training. They have set classes, but people come in ad hoc and train as and when. So I'm just going to have to go for it, make some videos, and live with the odd person being thrown through the ceiling. So if you see someone drop behind me, that's why. Okay, now the first section of the show is going to be, let's see, right, okay. I want to be upfront and honest with this stream in particular, and possibly some streams in the future. It was my suggestion put forward to Pixapro to do this stream today, hence why I'm wearing the t-shirt. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of their products and some of their show deals as a result of the postponement of the photography show, which is now moved to September, the 19th to the 22nd. More on that later. I work alongside Pixapro at the show as an advisor, and I also am part of their try before you buy scheme with studios. So people can come to the studio, try a piece of their kit, if of course I own it, before they go and buy it. They can hire the studio, they can hire me as an assistant during that hire as well, and they can try it. So that's full disclosure on the arrangement here, but it was my suggestion to do this stream. So the photography show, hands up in the chat, hands up, not that I can see it, who was gutted about the postponement? I know I was looking forward to catching up to the guys, so I'd be working alongside Barry Mountford, and by the way, Barry, thanks for sharing this out on your YouTube channel yesterday evening. Appreciate that, mate, appreciate the support. Tommy Reynolds, Gavin Hoey, some big names were due to demo. Now, I don't know the full schedule for the rescheduled show yet, but usually it's a one time a year event for me where I'll go and work alongside that team down there as an advisor on the stand, and also get to catch up with some great people whilst down there. So looking forward to September, and I'm sure that more details will become apparent in terms of the plan for that show, who's demoing in September, further down the line. As soon as I know, of course, I'll let you guys know as well. I'm just glad that they haven't cancelled it completely, because let's face it, a lot of things due to this coronavirus, I was trying to avoid saying it, but there we go, have been cancelled completely. So thankfully, not the case with the photography show. So I hope to see you there in September. We are normally on stand E91. Don't think that will change. Of course, we'll let you know if it does. So that's September the 22nd. I think I have something here I can pull up. Here we go. No, September the 19th to the 22nd. So there we go, at the Birmingham NEC again. So I shall be down there for the 4 days. Looking forward to that. Now, go back to the main camera. Like I say, little rough and ready with this one. Whilst I've got show notes, I'm still trying to figure out how to work OBS. Here we go. Who have we got? Ronnie. Yes, I do remember you, Ronnie. How are you doing, fella? I think you emailed me a few years ago regarding, it was either the tutorials I did for the Canon 500D, 60D or the 5D Mark II, one of the cameras anyway. But yes, I do remember you, so thank you very much for tuning in. By the way, on my channel here, which is where now my tutorials will live, live streams, future live streams as well, I have tutorials for specific cameras. That's where my channel started back in the day before I started to run a podcast called New to Photo with my friend Mark. That no longer exists, so don't go looking for that. Although I've still got the shows recorded. That's a blast from the past listening to those. And it kind of evolved from there. It lay dormant for a little bit and I've started doing some tutorials again, but now kickstarting this channel. I did have a separate channel, but decided rather than starting afresh, let's stick with the original subscriber base. So thank you very much to you guys for sticking around, and then build on this again. So hopefully you realize that I'm still alive and kicking. Right, here we go. Now, I've said thank you to Barry, thank you to Ian, awesome. Okay. So some news. We're aware of the photography show being postponed and rescheduled, which is awesome. Now, along with that, there's been many of the exhibitors and companies that were due to demo at the show. You know, as disappointing as it is having to postpone it after all that work and all the money in, arranging for the first dates, they very, very kindly arranged for some show offers. Now, I don't have offers here from everybody, of course, but there are many, many exhibitors and companies who are doing show offers during the postponement of the show. So most of them are running them between, say, now or a couple of days ago and until Tuesday, is it? I think the 22nd, when the show was originally going to end. So that's very, very kind of them. So it's very good of them. So do support their show promotions by having a look at their stuff as well. But what I do have are some show promotions and offers from Pixapro. There we go. So we shall have a look at some of those. Now, Pixapro have very kindly put these offers together to honour the show offers that they were originally going to provide, which is great. And there's some great deals on some great kits. Now, I have some of them to show here. Where are we? There we go. But this is not the totality of them all. There are show offers on individual items, and we'll have a look at some of those on the Pixapro website in a moment, as well as kits. Also, there's free things being given when you spend a certain value of money, which are great. And some of these have caught my eye, I must admit, but I must behave. Must behave. Must behave. Okay. Hey, Craig Scott, thank you very much for joining. Oh, whilst I have a set, a rough format for this show, do feel free to post some comments below. I've got some picked out already from the Facebook group to answer in the Q&A, but I'll switch back to myself before I forget, otherwise you'll just be looking at that graphic for the next half an hour. and it is somewhat fluid, so I'm more than happy for someone to drop a comment in the live chat below, or of course, if you watch this later on, drop a comment in the comment section later, and I will get back to it as soon as I can. Let's flip over to, get rid of my show notes. Have a quick look at some more of the Pixel Pro deals. Now, again, I understand that showing products, content and so forth from one company kind of makes you think that it's being pushed on you. It's not. I work alongside Pixel Pro because they're a great bunch of people. They've given me great support. Their kit just works and gets out of the way. Trust me, if this stuff didn't work and do its job, I wouldn't touch them. And people who know me know that that's the case. So it's good, solid kit, reliable, great performing kit, and I've had great support in the background from the people at Pixel Pro. So Yang, Ling, Keddy, Deli as well. Matt, shout out to those guys. They've all been great to work with. So this is why I work with them and then doing things like this. Okay, so we'll have a look at some of the show deals. Who else have we got in? Right, what I want you to do in the chat, just whilst I go through some of the offers, I'll go through some of the offers that are on. Let me know where you're based and what you like to shoot. Is it products? Is it weddings? Is it portraits? Is it landscapes? Street photography? Fine art? There's loads and loads of things out there that you could shoot. So let me know a little bit about yourself. I don't want this to be just about me and what I've got planned for the show. So drop links, shout out in the comments below. Any spamming, I will get rid of you in the chat, and keep it clean, folks. Okay, so let's have a look at the offers. Here we go, onto the Pixel Pro site. So very kindly, we've got some promotions running at the moment. Thanks for the guys at Pixel Pro. The first one is the Pica Pro 2, or the Pica 200 Pro, which is here. Now, I have the original Pica units, and I'm going to be answering some questions on some of this kit a little later in the Q&A. But the Pica Pros are extremely nice. If you're wondering what the Pica Pro here offers over the normal Pica 200, so you've got $295 at the moment for the Pica Pro and $240 with the show offer for the normal Pica 200. Both are extremely good lights. What you gain with the Pica Pro is you gain two little notches that you may be able to see on the sides. That may not be visible, but they're there, just where the quarter 20 is, that prevent it from spinning when it's mounted on the bracket, which is a nice little touch. It's little things that change how you use a piece of equipment that can make quite a big difference. You also get color consistent mode, and you get 1/10 of a stop power changes as well, or power increments. They are very, very good color consistency, like the City Pro series, the 400, the 600, and that 1/10 power adjustment is massive for me. So that's that there. It's huge. If you want to adjust a light a very, very, very little bit, I'm just going to switch back to myself here. A minute amount, you can do that in 1/10 of a stop. Yes, you can do it in software, but that's a global change in the image. When you want to do it per individual light head, that's massive, without having to then move that light, change shadow pattern, change fall off, change where the light's hitting your subject, inverse square law, will kick your butt if you let it. So having that very, very fine control is huge for me. So I want some. I'd like some Pica Pros. Anyway, so we'll switch back. There we go. So very, very good light. Now, the nice thing about the Pica units themselves is that they are expandable. So you have a single head here, but if you can buy two of them in a kit with the dual bracket, you can turn it from 2 lights into a 400 watt second light. And you can go from Fresnel head, which is like your typical speed light head. Again, let's switch back. Again, a little rough and ready with this, folks, but I have some stuff here. So a typical speed light head like this here, a Fresnel head, okay, versus bare bulb there. Or you have, of course, where are we? Boom, boom. Boom, boom. If I can come here. Here's one I prepared earlier, a bare bulb, which will live in, if we turn that round, boom, there. And that will clip onto the front of the Pica itself. And this is true of the Pica and the Pica Pro to make it bare bulb, which is far, far better in softboxes. So this is why these are such a great little light. My friend Barry, who also works with us at the show, Mr. Mountford, great photographer, by the way. He's got some great tutorials on his channel, product work and what have you. He's a big fan of these lights as well, and rightly so. So other show offers that we have currently running, and I'll check the chat in a moment, guys. Down here we have LED lighting sales. So if you're the kind of person that maybe is more into video but doing some stills on the side, maybe the LED lighting is better for you. If you're strictly stills, then a fair chance really the flash is going to be the better option for you. There's more power in terms of comparable output light to light and more choice of modifiers generally speaking. But we've got some great LEDs with offers there at the moment, which we can see the show offers. Barry does some great work with these LEDs, shooting some products as well. He's recently uploaded a video using some of the LED circular panels, the glow lights, and the square rectangular panels. I forget the name, sorry. So go check that out. There we go. We also have flash lighting offers as well, which we can see here. So these are very, very good deals. You've got Pica 400 Pro, which is a larger light head with a couple of Pica 200s. There's the dual bracket, by the way, that's shown there. When you can combine two of those to make it a 400 watt second head. So it's equal in watt seconds and power, relatively speaking, depends on the modifiers, to the City Pro 400. So some great deals on these kits here. And like I say, these are only available until March 22nd. So jump on them before they disappear. There's some great, great deals. For example, let me see if I can find it. There we go. If you're looking for a larger, more powerful light, say you need 500, 600 watt seconds to shoot the work that you do because you're fighting the sun, you mustn't live in the UK because we don't get the sun bar like 3 days a year. Anyway, you've got the City 600 manual, which, if we have a look here, is at a great price at the moment of £400. It's normally running about $485 thereabouts, and it's a hugely successful light. I know a fella that I work with alongside with Pixar Pro, Colin Brister, he uses these for motocross, and they get mud thrown on them, they get wet, and they just keep on going. He's just not managed to kill one yet, as far as I know. They're a great light with a ton of power, and at a great price point as well. So you get the remote flash control of power, third stop increments, great flash duration for stopping action as well, and great battery life, 500 full power pops. So if you go to half power, 1,000, and the math, so on and so forth. So some great deals there. Ton of deals on the kits, ton of deals on the individual lights. So head on over to take a look. Where are we? Have we got any on the Storms? Just let me have a look. My favorite studio lights, which are the Storms. Let me see. Before I check the chat. Oh, we do. Oh, look at that. Now, I use these in the studio, not necessarily exclusively. I use the Picas and such as well, but these Storm 2 400 and 600 units have been great because of their very short flash duration. They can stop action. So if you're shooting a family and the kid's running around going nuts, you don't have to deal with a blurry kid because your lights are too slow. These will actually freeze that action very, very well. And I moved to these for that actual reason. I got tired of building hands in Photoshop. Absolutely amazing. And they're a good price point there now. I've got a couple of the 600s and a couple of the 400s as well, which when you hire the studio, if you ever come in, you can take a look at those and give them a run, see what they can do. So let's go back to me, bring up my show notes. There we go. And we'll check the chat. Nothing for landscape photographers. To be fair, you're probably right there. I mean, they do some tripods. They've got some bags and things on there. Take a look at, actually, where are we? Is it? I'm going to call you Craig Scott. Sorry if I get that wrong. Take a look at the section where you've got accessories and grip. As a landscape photographer, you may end up doing some work where you could need to tether a phone or a tablet to your camera. Maybe it's some video work that you're doing, maybe it's time lapse, maybe it's focus stacking. And you can get clamps and arms and rig up some kind of a clamp for the tablet and have that off your tripod. So you've got your hands free and you're not having to put your tablet on the floor. So little things like that they may have. They've got super clamps, super combi clamps as well. So take a look at those. So it's grip that may well help you there. Of course, things like reflectors. If you're a landscape photographer and you do let's say macro shots of flowers, then they've got plenty of little things, reflectors, little LED lights, little macro lights and what have you, that may be of use to you. Okay, let's see. I'm just going to check the chat. Oh, you're living in Jamaica. Cool. One place I'd like to visit. I bet the weather's warmer than here at the moment. Although at the moment I don't think anyone's going to be doing much travelling for a while. Anyway. Sandbags, there you go. Good shout. So if you need to weight your tripod down further, away you go. One thing you can do with sandbags, a quick tip actually, is take them empty. And then you can use bottles of water to weigh them down, or if you know where you're going to has sand or gravel, you can fill up some freezer bags and then pop them inside the actual sandbags. That way then if nothing leaks, be it water-wise or fine grains of sand, and you can then weight it accordingly and obviously empty it when you're done, and take the empty bags home with you. Then you're not lugging these heavy bags. Okay, no problem. Right, chat's pretty quiet at the minute. We'll see if that picks up. Next section we're going to have a look at is just to have a look and talk about some gear. Now, we've had a look at the offers and seen some of the gear available at Pixapro. Yes, I'm aware there's many other brands around the world. And just to clear up some confusion, you get a lot of questions that you see a lot of questions in Facebook groups of, will this Pika 200 work with this Godox AD 200 or this Godox speed lights? And the answer is yes. They are one and the same. You've got rebranded resale items from companies from Pixapro. You've got Adorama Flashpoint around the world and many others that rebrand and resell the same stuff, and they are all interchangeable. The only thing you may find that changes around the world are trigger frequencies because of radio laws and licensing, but other than that, everything works exactly the same. My recommendation, if you're looking into the Godox family of lights, if you will, then grab it from your local region or retailer. If you're in the States, that's Adorama, for example, because you've got a port of call then to go back if you do have any issues. And if you want to go back and get some technical support, of course you can do that. They have a bricks and mortar store that you can walk into, you can call. Pixapro have a site in the UK as well, and they're easily reachable. So if I were to have a problem with any kit, I know that I can contact them and get some support. If I've got a question, if I have a brain fart, and by the way, that happens a lot, and forget how to do something, I can grab some support from them. So I would rather spend a little bit more, maybe comparatively, than looking on eBay and Amazon for a Godox unit and get the support on the back of that as well. It's a big thing. Especially when you're working commercially and professionally. I don't want to have to send a light away and wait 3 months for it. Okay, so let's just check the chat. Michael, thank you very much for answering the initial question. So you're based in Oldham, not too far away from here, by the way. A mix of things, cosplay, events, portrait, fashion, looking at different things to try and shoot. Keeping it varied, keep it interesting. I like it. There we go. So we've got someone from Jamaica, someone from Oldham. So far, Greg Scott, you are the furthest away in Jamaica. definitely. Okay, so looking at the equipment that we've got here and the lighting, just again to clarify some myths. The nice thing about this system, whichever light that you have, so we have the round head speed light here, the GI01, this is the Canon model, although I'll make a point on that in a moment. We have the peakers, you've got the triggers. I have as well in the bag a older hybrid 360, which is the AD 360 version 2. Looks like a big speed light with bare bulb. That's a great light as well. All of this, including the studio strobes, work together as one system. That's why Pixapro have, if I can switch back to their site, where are we? Let's go. Is it the one system that they advertise? Oh, there we go. Try before you buy. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Go back to the main site. Try before you buy. Is it on the blog? Is it on the blog? No, can't find it. Not to worry. But basically, it's referred to as the one system or the one ecosystem. So all of these lights that you see that they do, so you go to flash lighting, we say studio flash heads, the studio flash kits, the battery powered kits as well. Everything that you see here will work off that one ecosystem of trigger. The nice thing is with that is that the speed lights, so if you have this is the manual version, so not so much this one. I've got TTL versions which can act as a master as well. This will act as a master, and it's all of the same family. So if I lost my triggers here, for example, I've got multiples of these, but if I lost these, then I can use a speed light to control. I can even use the hybrid 360 to control the other lights, and that can act as a master as well as a light on camera if needs be. So it's a nice fail-safe. So all of this works off one trigger system. If you've got an older light from them, such as, say, for example, the older Lumi series, which don't have the built-in receivers, then you can plug in a little USB module. I think I've got one somewhere. I won't bother going finding it. You plug that into the USB port, and that then converts it onto this one trigger system. So you've got older lights you can bring into the fold. You can get receivers that you could put on the bottom of your Canon, Nikon, Yongnuo speed lights to bring it into the family as well, and it will work just fine. And the nice thing about these lights, in particular the battery powered units and the speed lights, the Cities, the City Pros, they don't care what camera system you use for the most part. Okay, exception maybe Phase 1, Hasselblad. There's no TTL system for that, I believe. But if you're shooting Canon, if you're shooting Nikon, if you're shooting Panasonic, Olympus, Sony, they don't care, providing you have the relevant trigger for your camera. So yes, you need to pick up the right one of these at the start point. That being said, this, even though it's a Canon trigger, will work on other cameras perfectly fine and fire the flash, allow you to control the power. It just will not deal with TTL at that point. So I use this for workshops, and it works fine on any camera that we put it on. So it's a very flexible system that way. Any more questions? Nope, there we go. So nice thing is you can buy any of these at any stage and you are good to go. Now this trigger, by the way, is the Pixapro ST4, which I recommend because it's amazing. You get a backlit screen, not that, I don't really can see that, possibly not, yeah you can. You get a backlit screen, it's very, very clear and easy to use. It's clear to see what you're doing in the dark, see what power your lights are set on, which is great for wedding receptions, for example. Love that thing. Not had any misfires with it, so it's great. Much easier than the ST3. The only thing you lose on that's the pass-through. Okay, so we'll flip back to the show notes. Now, before we go to the Q&A, let's have a look. There we go. Okay, couple of things to look at. Now, I know with this whole virus thing going on, there's been big upheaval for everybody. Restrictions on travel, there's been delays for new products coming out. The main thing is that we get this dealt with, okay? Everybody stays safe, everybody stays healthy, so that's the main thing. But we may see a couple of delays on some products. Now, we do have some recent announcements that were made camera-wise, as well as some lights that we'll go into also as well. Now, I know that Nikon, the D6, has been delayed due to the coronavirus. The Sony A7S Mark II, I think, or is it the 3? I forget. And the Canon EOS R5, that's just been announced. May see some delays on that, but some very, very promising kit in camera bodies that are due on the market. Now, I understand that we were supposed to see the EOS R5, which my friend Ian talked about on his last live stream that I was on with him, as possibly being his next camera. We were supposed to see that at the photography show, so I would assume that that will be there in September for us to have a look at. And we may know a little bit more about the specs. Canon keep on drip feeding this camera out there, so we don't really know what it is yet, apart from the fact it does 8K. Can you imagine trying to stream in 8K? Yeesh. Okay. Right, so, lighting wise, looking at Pixel and Godox again, we do have some new units due on the market. Again, we were to have a couple of demo units at the show. We'll have them with us in September to have a look at, so you can get eyes on and hands on. And these are these little bad boys. So let's have a look. Let me find it. Let me find it. If I go back to the front screen, if as ever, there we go. Where are we? Yeah, annoying clicky mouse noise. Right, not a problem. I'll find it. Bear with me, folks. Battery powered heads. Scrolly. Ah, have they taken it off? Right, maybe they have. Maybe they have. Studio flash heads. Okay. Thank you for taking that down. Right. We did have up on the site, it's been taken down probably for revision, I would imagine. Flip back to myself. The City 300 Pro, which was announced, I think, which is the Godox 300 Pro, by the way, the AD 300 Pro, which was announced at WPPI. Robert Hall had some videos on that, and also the AD 1200 Pro, which will be the City 1200 Pro, which is the big pack, and the remote head 1200 watt seconds. Those units are due to be released soon, although we know why there's been delays, and look very promising. The City 300, I wish I could find it on the site, but I can't, is similar in stature to the Pica, but it's just cylindrical. It looks kind of like a lens, so it would slot in a camera bag very, very nicely. And it will mount into the S2 bracket, which if I can find that, where are we? Here. There it is. Let me just switch back to that. Okay, the S2 bracket, which is here. So this bracket is a new and improved S-mount bracket. There's an Electron version as well for Electron modifiers if you're running those. And this has a removable section here. So it will fit the likes of the Pica far easily. 2 small speed lights will go in. And also it will take the City 400 Pro and the 300 Pro, which is due as well. That mounts right on there. So it has a native Godox mount on the City 300 Pro, but this will convert it into Bowens. So you're probably going to have some of these in the kit anyway. I know I do. Well, I've got some on order. So it will fit in those very, very nicely. I'm keen to get hands-on with the City 300 Pro myself and compare it to the Pica to see how it does. And I'd love to shoot with the 1200 Pro as well, that big, huge pack. That's going to be an absolute monster. Want to recreate the sun? Never mind overpower it. That thing will do it. Right. So let's check the chat. Michael Welsh. Okay, so mentioning on the trigger, so the ST4 that I talked about before, the TCM function. Just for those who may not be familiar with this trigger or the Godox version, there's a TCM button which will convert a TTL signal. So a TTL sends out a pre-flash for a meter, brings it back, tells the flash, here, this is the scene, this is how much power you need. Here's the f-stop, here's your ISO settings, and this is what you need to do. And if you've got a good exposure, which in a fair few cases TTL will get you close, or give you a good exposure, you hit the TCM button and it converts that to manual, which is really handy. So if you're running gun, say like event and wedding work, and you're running around using TTL a lot because the situation is constantly fluid, people changing distance from you, the light and the camera, then it's great for that. You can, of course, manually dial it in, but it's never going to be as quick as TTL at that point. So there's uses for manual and TTL, although primarily I will run manual if I can with Flash. There we go. I haven't heard anything, Michael, about the MS200 or 300 strobes, and they're the compact mains powered Godox units that were announced, I think, tail end of last year. I think they came out. I've not heard anything because really they're taken care of in their range by the Lumis at the moment. So I don't know whether they're being rebranded into Pixar Pro at that point. But if I find out anything, I shall let you know. Right. A little late finishing a garage conversion. Oh, good luck with that. Cool. What are you converting the garage to? Is it a studio, by any chance? Right. All right, let's go back to the show notes. Now, yeah, I've got links here actually to the original. Haha, I found it. Here we go. Right. Sorry about that, folks. They've moved the location of the post regarding the City 300 Pro, but I've managed to find it here. So as you can see, it is a cylindrical looking light, a little bit like a lens, maybe, I don't know, roughly the size of a 70 to 200-ish. Native Godox mounts. Now, if we look at the battery pack on the rear of this thing, now I haven't had confirmation on this yet. I've heard a few people mention that it has its own battery with a higher rating, but it will accept the battery from the Pika 200s or the 200 Pros. If that's the case, it would be nice because then it's obviously, may not be interchangeable, but it gives you an option to run that if you run out of power on its original battery. But I don't know what the effect will be on recycle time at that point, because I believe that the battery in the City 300 is a slightly higher milliamp hour versus the Pika, because it's slightly more power. But nice to see there, and it gets a removable bracket, so it can go into a bag nice and easy. Now this is, I don't think it's a bad price point, to be honest with you. This isn't confirmed as of yet, so don't read too much into that. It's early days, but for the spec that you're getting with the light, it's nice and compact. I think it's 500 full power flashes, can't talk. A 10 watt bicolor LED for the modeling lights. It'll get you close, being able to rough it in, but 10 watts I don't feel is particularly bright for an LED, to be honest. So it's going to be not much good outside, but in a dark studio, a dark place, it'll be fine. More than enough to help you focus and position the light. And we also have as well, where are we? Next page, maybe? Next page. No, I've lost it. I was hoping to find the AD200, 1200 Pro, or the City 1200, but never mind. No, okay, we'll switch back. Like I say, early days with those. So more information will be released as they are released themselves, I'm sure. If I can manage to get hands on any of those new units myself, I'll bring them into the studio, I'll do a video on them, run them through some tests, because I'm curious to see what they'll do, whether they'll work in my workflow themselves. So it'd be good to get hands on those. Garage into a bedroom and utility room 4 weeks into a 2-week job. Isn't that always the way? Oh, it'll only take me a few weeks. It's like this. It'll only take me a couple of hours to figure out live streaming, most of yesterday evening and this morning. Later, right. Here we go. Now, the next point we're going to look at, okay, Q&A. Forgive the rough jumping around on this live stream. It's, like I say, learning curve with all this stuff. So Q&A. I've got a couple of questions that were posted in the Facebook group. So I need to pull those up. Here. Now, I'm not going to show the browser window of the Facebook group because there's people's names and whatnot within there. So I'm going to hold on doing that for the moment. But if I can find the questions down here, where are we? Okay, first question from David. I'm not going to use full names again. You never know with GDPR these days. Anyway. Okay, David asks, what battery-powered flash units would you recommend using in a gym? Pixel or otherwise? Happy to do a one higher with 2 or 3 smaller ones. So maybe one larger, more powerful light, augmented by some smaller ones. I'm assuming that must have a trigger that can change the power on each strobe from the trigger when it's on the camera. Ideally TTL, but not essential, and happy to work around as I know these are limited as I use Panasonic. Okay, fine. First point on that, as far as I'm aware, now I haven't had a lot of experience shooting Panasonic or Olympus, which I believe use a very similar TTL-based system. Can't really speak to either of theirs in terms of general use, but as far as I know, the triggers are available for Olympus and Panasonic and do have TTL as well, which is fine, but I think shooting what you shoot, David, knowing what you shoot in a gym setting, then manual is probably going to be the way to go for you for more consistent looks and better repeatability within a session. Now, for me, I know that you have at the moment, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's a couple of Young Euro speed lights that you're running at the moment. Don't throw those away, whatever you do, because you can bring those into the Pixel Pro system if you go this route. I know there are other options on the market, I get that. You can bring them into the Pixel Pro system with receivers mounted onto the bottom of them, and that will give you power control, that will give you TTL control. However, double check on that though with the types of flashes that you've got from Young Euro. If they're TTL based, which I don't know whether they will be for Panasonic and Olympus, then yes, they should bring all of that with the receiver into this kind of system. If they're just manual, then you may find that it will just literally be a manual firing trigger at that point. So the receiver will just get the signal to fire the flash at whatever you've set it on at that stage. Now you can bring those speed lights that you've already got into any setup with any system using the optical slave, the S1 or S1 or S2 modes, normally on S1. So it looks for a flash, sees a flash, and then it will fire at that point. But if you're going into a system where it gives you full control, then in all honesty, and people are going to sit there thinking, yeah, we knew he was going to say this. Look at the Pixel Pro units, in particular the Pica 200. It's small and compact. It gives you the output compared to or equal to around 3 speed lights. Give or take, it depends on what the actual speed light rating was in terms of guide number and what have you. Comes with a Fresnel head, comes with a bare bulb head. You can mount two together on a bracket to scale it up to a 400 watt second light, and that dual bracket has a modelling lamp on it as well, which is quite handy. I use that quite a bit. You have also, well, I don't have every accessory for this. You have options of getting a round head, similar, okay, in shape of this, that will fit on the front of the Pica as well. You've got an LED lamp head that you can put on there, which can be used in a pinch for video or just to see where the hell you're going when it's dark. We'll pop this bad boy on here. So as a small flash unit with bags of power, they'll do high-speed sync as well, by the way. They're great because you'll still be able to get them in small places, which is conceivable that you'd need to do within a gym environment, you know, in between machines and whatnot. And they have a ton of power. So if you need to light a scene where the light's further away, for example, let's say you're shooting a class where people are doing Pilates or yoga. Now, you're not going to hit them with grids and little hard lights necessarily for drama that you may do when you're sculpting a bodyscape. So, you know, if you're shooting a bodybuilder or an athlete to show the shape and form, you probably light accordingly, light more dramatically. But if you're wanting something more lifestyle commercial feel for that class, yoga, Pilates, what have you, then being able to back this further away, have a larger modifier in play and wash the room full of light to augment natural light that may be there from large windows, then these are going to do far more than a speed light will ever do. And they maintain the portability also. So with these, you can then use your Yongnuo speed lights. You can add Pixapro speed lights. This is a Leon 580 manual, which works on a lithium-ion battery. There, which is equivalent to about 8 or 12, I forget, double A's. So that thing will do 600 full power pops on that. You can go months without having to charge those things, depending on how much you shoot. So it's a very flexible system. Now, in addition to that, and by the way, the battery for the Pica is there, you can have a remote cable head as well. So you can have the weight, although there's not much in it, of the unit and battery lower on a stand and have this with a bare bulb or the Fresnel head out on a boom arm, for example. So this cable lets you place it remotely from the main unit itself, which is also good for different setups and allows you to get it into smaller places. So that's very, very handy there as well. Honestly, if I didn't need modeling lights on studio strobes, and maybe say if I worked in a brighter studio day to day, where you could control how much natural light comes in with blinds and what have you, then battery powered units like the Pica, like the Cities, would be the way I would have gone, to be honest with you. But because I'm in a dark studio where I need as much light as I can from modeling lights at times, I've gone with the mains powered units to begin with. But they're very, very flexible, these. Let's see. Any more questions coming in? Now, one thing I wanted to point out or suggest is the difference between these units here, if anyone's asking. So some people may recognize the round shape of the round head. Anyone seen the Profile 2 A1 and A1X? And people argued who came out with it first. Who cares? The reason why I think the round head has been developed and brought out onto the market is to clean up the pattern of light and for quality of light that you get. Now, nothing will beat a bare bulb like that in a softbox. So if you're running an octabox, a deep parabolic, bare bulb is the way to go. And to be honest, even the shape of the tube itself can have a bearing on the quality of light that you get versus a focused beam from some kind of focusing lens like a Fresnel or Fresnel, however you say it. So if you've ever looked at, now I don't have example pictures to throw up unfortunately, but if you've ever looked at the pattern that's thrown by a traditional speed light on a background, let's say you're doing a headshot and you've got one of these behind your subject, there we go, putting a bit of circle of light on the background, it's never quite clean. The Fresnel pattern breaks up a little bit. The cleanest zoom range on these speed lights or traditional speed lights is about 35mm on the zoom after testing for myself, and that's been across the Canon speed lights I've had, Yongnuo, and now the Pixel Pro ones as well. But none of them produce as clean a pattern of light as this thing does, the round head. I'd like to think that the round head for the Pico will be the same. Absolutely great. It gives a nice circle of light which grades off from highlight into shadow. Very much like a grid. It's not hard highlight shadow like a snoot, but it gives a very, very clean circular pattern of light as well. And that's why I've added this thing in the kit. So it gets used actually as a background light more often than not. Also, if you use what I'm looking for, umbrella modifiers, so shoot-throughs, reflective umbrellas and what have you, then this, whilst you might not get as much f-stop in terms of power at times, this fills that umbrella far, far better. It's a much cleaner light within that umbrella modifier through the diffusion material versus a normal speed light. You get a hot spot with a normal speed light, less so with this. So it's actually filling up that umbrella much better, giving you a larger light source, softer light, at the expense of a little bit of output. It's not that the flash is any weaker bulb-wise and capacitor-wise, it's just a better quality of light filling that modifier. So therefore, you get a softer light on your subject. So that's another great use for these, is for umbrellas. And umbrellas get discounted a lot. And when I say discounted, I don't mean in price. I mean, they get kind of, yeah, that's rubbish, I want an Octobox. Because all you see online is Octobox, softbox, Octobox, softbox. But you can do a lot with an umbrella, trust me. Okay, let's see. Now, the second question that we had. Okay, from Michael, if you're still watching, this is your question, fella. What flash would you recommend if you have to run and gun an event, and why? My reason for asking was this weekend just gone, I reverted back to a non-dedicated on-camera flash and had to spend time trying to dial in the settings. So basically, you're on camera running manual, or you can be off camera handheld, but you manually dial in the power in to shoot with. Okay, I forget what system that you shoot in, assuming it's Canon, Nikon or Sony or something that's within these systems. Then get yourself a camera branded flash. It doesn't have to be a Canon flash if you shoot Canon, and Nikon flash if you shoot Nikon, but one that works within that system for TTL. And it would be the Leon 580 ETTL or ITTL versions. So the one correct for your camera, along with the trigger. So you can slap this on your camera and run and gun TTL with traditional speedlight modifiers such as bounce cards, grids that you can fit on there as well. That's one thing when you move to the round head speedlight versus the traditional ones, and this can do that as well, by the way. Round head, it gives a very, very nice clean pattern of light, like I said. But all of those modifiers you bought yesteryear for the square or rectangular shape speedlight won't really fit that well. You can stretch a mag mod to kind of get it to fit on this, but it's not ideal. But these do have clip-on magnetic modifiers of their own, so you have to move along with that, so just bear that in mind. But a camera specific trigger or capable flash, and these things are camera agnostic, they don't care what camera they go on, especially the TTL versions. Slap it on, it knows, and away you go. And that's the way that I would go. I'd go with one of these from Pixel Pro, Godox, same thing, purely because of the battery. Get the TTL version. If you need additional off-camera units for other stuff that you do for cosplay where you've got more time to set up a more controlled shot, go for the manual version, save a little bit of money, because the batteries last ages and you're not having to faff with double A's. The only thing you would need double A's for are your trigger if you go off camera. So that's the way that I would go. The TTL works great. From old cameras, I've got the 5D Mark II, the 5D4, 5DSR in the kit, and it works across all of those. The metering in TTL is far better on the newer cameras than the older 5D2, and that's just the metering in the camera, that's not the flash, but it all works as expected, even comparing it to the Canon speedlights of yesteryear that I used to have as well. So that's the way that I would go. Nikon with ST4 with a TT65. So you've got a Godox flash for an Olympus camera, from the sounds of it. How did you end up with that? Right. But you're shooting with Nikon. There we go. So the best thing you can do, Michael, is use some of these discounts that are on Pixapro sites at the moment and go and get yourself a TTL 580. Sorted. There we go. Right. Let's go back to the show notes. Let's drink the coffee before it goes cold. Now, before I move on from the Q&A, I want to open up the chat, the live chat, to any other questions that anyone has got. So for the next couple of minutes, drop your comments below. Let me know what questions that you've got, and I'll do a quick fire answer of those before we go on to the next segment. So you started with Panasonic. That answers that question. There we go. Right. Now, whilst you guys hopefully give me some questions to answer in that chat, I'm going to move on to the giveaway to start wrapping this thing up. So I've been going a little bit longer than I would have thought. I knew I would. Once I start rabbiting. Here we go. So we have a giveaway coming up, again, kindly provided by my friends over at Pixapro. And then I've got some additional shout outs to do at the end of the stream. I'm going to try and get future streams and shows down to about 40-45 minutes if I can. Give me some time to work this out. Right. Let's see. Any questions down below? There is a little bit of delay on the stream as I'm monitoring it. Not as of yet. So before the next section, what we are going to do is queue up some promos. Now, shameless self-promotion in this next section. If we transition over here, my studio is open for studio hires. I do 2 levels of hire. Normal hire, where you just come and use the studio and you've got use of the kit, and I will be on hand to help if needs be. If anyone has any questions, I can make a brew for you or what have you, but I'll just carry on with some work in the office. Or there's the full assisted hire, where you get me as your assistant, grip, rigger, lighting technician, digital tech, whatever that you want to do. If you're going to shoot tethered, if it's a higher end production, you bring a client in, I will work as part of your team for you during that hire. The studio itself is very well equipped. Let's see what more. As we can see, we've got more lights than soft mic. Not heard that phrase for a while. More lights than soft mic, right? So I've got some continuous lights, LEDs, obviously as well. Plenty of flash units, small flash, studio flash as well to go at. So all of this equipment, including white and grey backgrounds, are available during a hire. Colours are extra, please note. But should you need to hire a studio based in Stockport or Manchester, give me a shout. It'd be great to have you in. I also provide training, one-to-one, and workshops, group workshops as well. Speaking of workshops, I have one coming up at the end of the month. So we'll pop that on there. There we go. Freezing action. So this is about freezing action, more concentrating on portraiture, shooting, say, portraiture or fashion images, being able to stop a movement, stop someone jumping, for example, which is where this lighting system also does very, very well. In particular, the storm heads, the peakers, and the hybrid 360. Speed lights are great for stopping action as well, but at their lower power scales at that point. So that's on Wednesday, the 25th of March at 7:15 to 10:15. Now, the model that we have booked is called Steph, and she works as a personal trainer, an actress, contemporary dancer as well. So it's going to be a good evening. Also coming up towards the end of the month, on Saturday the 28th of March is a studio day with my friend and model Brianna Gray, which is just there. You can book 1 or 2 hour slots through the day. You get full use of the studio. I'll be on hand to help if you need it as well, or I can just leave you alone to shoot. So that's Saturday, the 28th of March. We're opening from 9 a.m. till 6:15 at night. There'll be breaks in between the sets. So do contact us, either myself or Rihanna Gray, to book a slot and make sure you're not double booking anything at that point. And we will be having a built-in lunch break partway through the day, so do bear that in mind. We got to eat. We got to eat. Here we go. I'll come back to myself. Let's see if we have anything in the chat. Good morning, Stanford Gore. Good morning. Where are you in the world if you're saying good morning now? It's like 4 o'clock here. Let us know where you're from. Okay, so giveaway. God, this is why you're all watching, isn't it? Give free stuff. Right, I'm kidding. Right, okay. So, no problem, Dave. Happy to help. Have a look into the Pika. If you, sorry, I've segued, distracted. If you want to come into the studio and have a look at the Pikas, give me a shout, come on down and have a look at them. We can arrange to meet up, grab a coffee and have a look at them. You don't have to say hi at the studio on this occasion if you don't want to. Come and have a look at the units that I've got with the accessories, see if they'll fit for you. We can set them up and set them at distance, see if they'll do power-wise for you, what you're wanting to do. Just give me a shout, let me know. Okay, the next section is the giveaway. Here we go. Now, my friends over at Pixapro, so shout out to Ling, Yang, and Matt for arranging this. I have a couple of 5-in-1 collapsible reflectors to give away. Now, these are handier than you may think. So here we are. I've got it. There's the page. So if I transition to the browser, there we go. I'm starting to get used to this. This is what I have to give away. Now, I have 2 units of these, valued at £24.99. They're 80 by 120 centimetre collapsible reflectors. Now, they're a 5-in-1, so they're a white diffusion material, which I believe is a one-stop, silver reflective, gold and white weave, white reflective and black negative fill as well. Multiple uses for these things, which I'll cover in a moment. The nice thing about these is with the gold side, they are a wavy soft gold, so they're not just a straight up gold reflectance, which can work well for some things, but more than likely it's like 80s glamour where that comes into play. If you're wanting just to warm up the skin tone a little bit and not a whole lot, then the wavy gold is great because it weaves in a little bit of neutral white within there as well. So it just warms it up a little bit. These are great. Now, what these are good for, obviously, other than diffusing light, reflecting light, negative fill, so introducing shadow onto one side. I've used the casing, which essentially is kind of black to silver reversible normally. If I've been using the diffuser, I will kneel or I'll lie down on the casing, just so I'm not having to deal with mud or something else. At that point, I've used them in the studio, pinned from the suspended ceiling, which is above me at the moment, and fired a light through for a top-down light fill for e-commerce and for fashion as well. They can be used for product work, food work to create a window light, firing lights through. The nice thing is when you do that, so if you rig one of these up on a stand or a couple of stands and clamps, and then fire either soft boxes through them or 7-inch reflector, so harder light sources through them, you can then feather those lights on or off the reflector panel and totally change the gradation of light across a scene, across the set, or across the food setup as well. So they're very handy, other than the traditional reflector and what have you. And also, unless your light's really high and above, I try not to reflect from underneath because it just lights up everything under the chin, under the nose. Catch the light from above and angle it down. Much better. Right. I need to stop looking at the screen on the camera. There we go. Now, The way that you can win one of these is I don't have them to send out myself, but what I can do is I can forward your details on once you've contacted me and you've been selected as a winner, and get Pixapro to send it on out to you. Like I said, I have 2 of these to give away, and I have a further 2 to give away on my friend Ian's stream on Tuesday the 17th at 7:30 as well. So the way that you're going to win on this is by typing in the following in the chat. So if I drop this in here, what you need to type in is literally that, what you'll see in the chat at the moment. Reflect me, please. And it's going to be first come, first serve. So first 2 people to pop that in the chat will be selected as the winners. And then I need you to email me, okay, at my email address, which is on my website. So rjbradbury.com, and it's rick@rjbradbury.com. Email me your details. This is so we've not got any addresses or anything being posted publicly. Send me the details. I'll forward them to Pixapro. We'll get you the 5-in-1 reflectors sent out. So it's first come, first served. 2 units only on this stream, 2 more on Tuesday. I don't know how Ian's going to give those away. We'll figure that out. But for the first 2, boom, drop them in the chat and we'll get them out to you. So thank you very much to Pixapro for sending those over, well, for offering to provide those. There we go. I'll leave you guys to do that. And we're going to wrap up because I've gone a little longer than I thought I would. Typical me, typical me. I'm going to do a couple of shout outs. Okay, before I do that, I do want to drop some links in the chat below. Where are we? Here we go. So the Pixapro website is there. There we have. We have 2 winners. So Michael and Stephen. I'll get your details over to me, Stephen. You don't have to worry. I've already got yours on hand because Stephen is one of my one-to-one training clients. But I'll get those sent out from Pixapro for you. Like I say, they're very, very handy, nice and compact in how they pat down. You know, I've got loads of those things at the studio. They are great. The Pixapro website link is in the chat below if you want to go and have a look at the show offers. And I have, let me drop a link to the Facebook group in the chat as well if anyone wants to have a look at joining that. All levels are welcome. And then, where are we? Right, I've got some shout outs to do. I said at the beginning of the stream, thank you to my friend Ian, next door neighbour, for the loan of this camera. Otherwise, this would not have happened today. Nightmare technical issues. Thank you to Barry for giving us a shout out on his YouTube channel yesterday evening for the live stream. Head on over to have a look at some of his videos. Barry Mountford Photography has got some great stuff on there. I'd like to give a shout out to my friend Scott Cucino as well. He just recovered his YouTube channel, had a bit of an issue with it, and he's got some great content on there. Tons of shooting advice, vlogs behind the scenes, business advice as well. So I will drop a link to his channel in the chat as well once it loads. There we go. So check his content out also. There we are. And the last shout out, I think he's actually just joined the chat, or either that or he's been watching and he's not told me, is to my right hand man, Mr. Bodie, Mark. How are you doing, fella? Now, I'm going to drop a link to his Instagram account where he posts his landscapes. He has also just started shooting film as well, so he's got a video about shooting film on his YouTube channel, which may be of interest to some people, and he's definitely going to end up making me buy another film camera because it's been a while since I've done anything like that, really. Not shot a whole lot of film, in all honesty. But I will drop a link into the chat for him. There we go. And we have... oh, I bet that sounds hilarious. Watching my live stream at 1.5 times speed. So I kind of sound probably like, a little bit more like this, yeah? Anyway. Right. Honestly, whilst this has gone on a little longer than I expected, I'll pare the shows down in the future to 40, 45 minutes. There's a lot going on here with you switching to different content, and I think when you've got someone working with you and helping you with that, it's going to be a huge help, but that's not always possible. So shorter shows coming up. I'm just happy that it's worked for now, and I've just got through some teething problems and troubleshooting and got it going, to be honest with you. Hey, and I didn't break anything, and I didn't go, where are we? And I didn't do anything like this. Boom, boom, boom. Like have to throw this up, go to the toilet with the wireless microphone still switched on, because that is probably going to happen on a future stream. Yeah, so tune in to listen to me on the toilet at some point. All right. So look, see, I've got all these things ready. I'm not had to use them. Where are we? Let me switch back. Including, ready? Watch this. And go back to me. There we go. Right, I had that queued up ready just in case. Although I think if you have a technical issue with the stream, you're not showing anything. Go figure. There we go. Yeah, thanks again, Barry. Right, before I go, like I say, do check out the links that are in the chat. There's some great content being put up on YouTube from my friend Scott. Mark's got some great videos up there, vlogs from landscape. So if you're looking for a location to go and do some landscape shoots, if you visit the UK, for example, or even if you're doing some portrait work and want to shoot out in the wilderness, then his videos will be a good reference, to be fair, because you can get an idea of the location. He usually tells you a little bit about where he is and what's there. So they're interesting to watch. And I think we will leave it there, unless anyone has anything else they want to just drop into the chat before it ends. I will call it a day on that, because the studio's getting cold because I've had to turn the heaters off because of fan noise. So thank you very much for people who have watched. I have recorded this stream as well, so I may pare down some sections into separate videos for answers for people as I go. And fingers crossed, we can move forward with these streams and I will get better. Because it's been a while. Man, I used to be used to this kind of stuff with the podcast, and way out of practice. Way out of practice. Right, anything in the chat? Anything at all? And, oh, nice thing about having a wireless microphone is, look, okay, I can get up and walk around. Look at this. Hi, here I am. There we go. Or if I suddenly decide that, you know what, I've had enough of this, I'm going, I can just, there we go. I can just walk off. Anyway, upcoming streams, this is going to be a setup I'm going to kind of work with, and it'll probably progress a little bit. Upcoming streams will also be Q&As, critiques, and I want to get some live tutorials and live shoots on the go as well, but I need to figure out how the laptop's going to cope with recording Capture One or Lightroom as I'm shooting into it, pulling files in and streaming. So that's a whole other ball game. There we go. Oh, message from Barry. Thank you very much, fella. Appreciate it. And that will do for this stream. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you have any feedback, do let me know. Pop it in the comments. I don't know. I think the live chat gets recorded and left, but comments will open up in the video once YouTube's processed it. You can drop me an email, drop me a DM on Instagram, join the Facebook group if you wish. Any and all feedback is welcome. Any questions that you've got about the gear discussed, let me know. If I can't answer it, I'll refer you to someone at Pixel Pro who can. And I will see you on, hopefully, Tuesday evening at 7:30 over in Ian's. Right, how do we end this? How do we end this? Do we do end stream? No. I'll tell you what we need to do first. We need to say thank you for watching. There we go. And that's a shot of Bethany Kamek, who's a great model to work with, who's currently in Egypt, I believe, at the moment, diving. All right, for some. All right, here we go.